Hi, my name's Anna-Marie. Welcome to Actual Spinster. Today I'm going to talk about one of my favourite authors, I guess, but also somebody that I want to reread and read a lot more of as well, and that's Muriel Spark. I've got 4 books from her here, and I just thought I would talk through like some of the books I've read from her, books I have that I want to read in the more kind of immediate future. I think I'm going to talk to you about the books that I read like in the order that I read them first, and then go on to talk about books that I want to read from her. And I guess some background for Muriel Spark is that she's like a Scottish woman writer. She was writing in the... Okay, so listen, I got this completely wrong when I first recorded it. She was publishing novels from 1957 to about 2004, I think. She was kind of, I think she was pretty well known for being quite like acerbic and direct. So I read 4 of her books, and I think most of them I read, in fact I'm pretty sure all of them I read in the years preceding me leaving school. I'm pretty sure I remember being like 17 and 18 and reading and thinking about like university application at the same time. So actually I just looked up on Goodreads and it tells me that I read all 4 of the books I've read from her in 2013, which is quite intense. And I'm pretty sure that I reread some of one of them in like 2018 or something. I have obviously wanted to reread like all of the ones I've already read, as well as keep going with her work since then, basically. And the first one that I read is the classic one that everybody knows Muriel Spark for, is at least her most famous book, because, well, not just because of this, but also because it was created into a film with Maggie Smith playing the main character slash the title character, Ms Brodie. So this is called The Prime of Ms Brodie, and it's about this teacher called Ms Brodie, and she teaches at like a secondary school, and she kind of molds various pupils into a particular group and kind of teaches them very specific things. I vaguely remember her being like a fascist, loving like Mussolini a lot, and it's about, yeah, like education, and then it's also kind of about like these girls growing into maturity, but also I do remember there being like a bad relationship with like a teacher for one of them and stuff like that. So it's very interesting. I also think that like a lot of Muriel Spark's works kind of like exist on a like lesbian continuum and they often tend to be quite homosocial, I think. So even though this is kind of about heterosexuality and like men, it is also so intensely focused on the world of these women and these young girls and the worlds that they create together, and the way that they, I guess like the way that they also then imagine men to be in them, which is not particularly close to them or part of their lives except from in a very specific romantic way, if that makes sense. I do remember this fairly well. I remember it being quite like, kind of like tragic comedy, basically. Definitely some moments which like you kind of laugh at, but like it's like sinister humour. Like, I guess I just don't want to say like black humour, like I don't know how to say that without saying that though. You know, where you're like laughing at things that are basically like death, like a morbid humour to it. And yeah, so this was where I started. I think this is a fine place to start with Muriel Spark, but obviously I only have a fairly limited experience with her work. Then I read The Girls of Slender Means, which I think is my favourite of hers that I read. And this one, it's almost kind of like a more grown-up version of The Prime of Ms Brodie. There's definitely some like connections, I feel like, that run through both of them into each other. This one is set in, let's see, it's in, I think it's like just post-war, and it's set in the May of Tech Club, which is a London hostel with young women residents. So it's about them and their work and the way that they act together. It is also about class and money. This was published in 1963, and this one was published in 1961. And this I think is almost like the one that is most pressing for me to reread, because like I said, I did start rereading it actually. I presume that's where I got up to, but then I had to read other stuff. I am interested to see if I still like it as much. I'm sure that there's some stuff in here around how she maybe represents particular characters that I probably won't like, because I feel like I've become much more aware in the 7 or 8 years since I read this about the nuances of representation. I'm sure I will keep you updated. The other thing that's nice about this book specifically is that I bought it in Edinburgh, and then in 2013, and I read it in one day, and then I went to a talk about Muriel Spark in the evening, so it feels very nice. And then obviously, you know, Spark is a Scottish novelist, so it felt even nicer to be in Scotland buying a book from her, reading it in the same day, and then going to talk about her. And it looks like I even kept the receipt The next book that I physically own that I read was The Abbess of Crewe by Muriel, which I believe is like a satire on Nixon. It was first published in, I think, 1974. It looks like. I really strongly remember reading this whilst like having to write a personal statement, which is not a time I try to remember. And yeah, so it's about a bunch of nuns and there's like an election for the new abbess and there's some weird hoodwinks going on and people are being bugged and it's all very like political and satirical. And yeah, I feel like when I first read it I probably didn't get it that much, but I did just look on my Goodreads and I think I said like classic Muriel Spark and gave it 5 stars, so I don't remember liking it that much. But it also is pretty short, so should be fairly quick to read. The last one that I have read that I actually am not with my copy of at the moment is a book called Memento Mori, which is actually, I think, a really interesting book from her, and it's about aging and it's about dementia and it's about, I mean, as the title would suggest, memento mori means remember death, and I believe it's about a bunch of elderly people who keep receiving a telephone call from somebody that's like an unknown number and they just say like, remember you will die, and just about their lives together. That is another one that I would like to reread. I think the girls, I'm gonna try and reread this before 2021 is over, because like I would really like to read more of her work and I feel like, you know, I just need to push through. So in terms of the other books by her that I want to read that aren't just like all of them, I also do own this copy of The Driver's Seat, which I believe I got when I was at university. So it's got somebody's notifications. Oh my god. So it's got somebody's annotations in it. Looks like a woman who's tired of work and decides to transform her life. So that sounds very good for me. So yeah, there's that. And then I have a couple that I picked up in charity shops again, but I don't have them with me. So I have a copy of The Comforters, which I think is maybe her first book, but I'm not entirely sure. Then I have A Far Cry from Kensington, as well as Loitering with Intent. And then I also actually have a copy of this Bronte biography that she wrote called The Essence of the Brontes, which sounds really interesting. This is just something that I literally saw like in a charity shop and I was like, oh wait, I love Muriel Spark, okay. But I don't have any of those copies with me, so I won't be getting to them for a little while at least. If I were to rate like the books of hers, at least not according to me when I rated them on Goodreads in 2013, but rather with my memory of them now, I would put this one as my first one. I think I'd probably put this one as my second one, then I'd put Memento Mori, and then I would put The Abbess of Crewe. But we'll see how that changes. Maybe I'll make another update of this, like sort of to this video series of like reading Muriel Spark, or I have been thinking about making some videos about like Scottish women writers, because I live in Scotland right now and that would be nice, but I actually haven't read that many Scottish women writers yet, so it's a video that will hopefully happen at some point but needs more preparation / just more reading for it to happen. Let me know what you think about Muriel Spark. Have you read any of these books? Let me know if you want to. Have you seen the film of The Prime of Ms Brodie? Let me know what you thought about it. I hope you're having a good day whenever you see this, and I will see you another time. Bye!